Please be seated, and if there's, are you the only two kids? Any other kids? Don't just come up here so I'm not alone. Thanks. I appreciate it. Nothing like being home. Good morning. Okay, so I have a question. When a baby first starts to walk and tries to take that first step and falls down, what do the parents do? Do they say, too bad. I told you as best I can how to walk, and no, now you're on your own. Do they say that? What do they say? They pick you back up and they go, come on, you can do it, right? We quite often think, because this reading we had today about the seeds in the different soil, is that what God does is sends out the word, and if you don't quite get it, goes, oh, and that's that. Too bad. We tried, but you're lost. God didn't do that. No. God does like our parents. He goes, come on, we'll try it one more time. You can do it. Yay, yay, I'm on your side. So that's really all I have to say. But thanks for listening and participating. I appreciate it. Because sitting up here by well, normally I talk to them and just walk away. Thank you. That's it. Aren't they beautiful? A friend tells the story about a lady he met while he was pastor in his first church. She had been married for 47 years to her husband when he died. He had been of the old school. He worked, paid the bills, did all of the driving, and even pumped the gas for the car. So she had never had to do any of these things for herself. Several months before my friend left this church to take a call in another place, he began helping this lady learn how to take care of herself, by herself. My friend began by showing her the way to get to church. He showed her how to pump gas and reconcile the checkbook. The week before he left, the lady gave him a card, and inside was $1,000. My friend refused the gift, suggesting that they give the money to the church or to some charity. But the lady finally said, Pastor, if you can't accept a good gift, then you can't give one. So he accepted the gift. At first hearing, this lady's comment seems prescriptive. A prescribed behavior is one in which you must act a certain way. But at a deeper level, her comment was descriptive, a statement of how things are. In other words, reality. Let me give you another example of descriptive behavior from the Lord's Prayer. We say, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And I have to say that early on, this line frightened me a little bit. If it's prescriptive of how we want God to act, then the prayer should be, forgive me more than I forgive others, right? Instead, I suggest that the line, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us, is descriptive. It explains how things are. We are only able to receive forgiveness as we have learned to offer it to others. Remember the lady from my friend's first church? If you can't accept a good gift, then you can't give one. You can only receive what you have learned to give. That is God's reality. In Matthew 7 we read, Jesus said, do not judge or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when all the time there is a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite! First take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. Now we can look at today's gospel lesson, the one about seeds and soil. For the better part of 2,000 years and up to this very day, People have been trained by pastors to hear this text as prescriptive. There's lots of different soils, but you better be the good soil, the one that bears fruit. So listen to the text again, but this time hear it as Jesus simply describing the world. Reality statements, describing the world. And as you listen, remember that God is the sower and the seed is the word. That same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat by the lake. Such large crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat in it while all the people stood on the shore. Then he told them many things in parables, saying, a farmer went out to sow his seed. As he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow. But when the sun came up, the plants were scorched and they withered because they had no root. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. Still other seed fell on good soil, where it produced a crop, 100, 60, or 30 times what was sown. He who has ears, let him hear. Listen then to what the parable of the sower means. When anyone hears the message about the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what was sown in his heart. This is the seed sown along the path. The one who received the seed that fell on rocky places is the man who hears the word and at once receives it with joy. But since he has no root, he lasts only a short time. When trouble or persecution comes because of the word, he quickly falls away. The one who received the seed that fell among the thorns is the man who hears the word, but the worries of this life and the deceitfulness of wealth choke it, making it unfruitful. But the one who received the seed that fell on good soil is the man who hears the word and understands it, and he produces a crop, yielding 100, 60, or 30 times what was sown. The 4 types of soil Jesus describes are the path, the rocky ground, the thorny ground, and the good soil. Think about it. These describe the whole world, much like the prodigal and his brother describe both halves of humanity. In Jesus' story, God sows the word across the whole world in a non-judgmental way. So let's look at it that way, non-judgmentally. Now, some of the seed fell on the path. God generously and universally broadcasts his word, the seed of his word, and the birds, the devil, eat it. Now I ask you, what is the way in which seeds are transported to new areas? Well, some are carried by wind or water, some stick to the fur of animals, and some are swallowed by birds, not digested, and dropped in a new location complete with their own little packet of fertilizer. How does the Bible put it? We know that all works for the glory of God. As for the rocky ground, those seeds sprout up and then die and decay quickly. New seeds fall, sprout up, die, and decay. And as this occurs over and over and over again, eventually what do we have? Good soil. Then there's the thorny ground. It's interesting that thorns, like most weeds, grow best in ground that other plants find wanting. In other words, they thrive in bad soil. If you want to kill weeds, just fertilize them. So once again, the thorns sprout up and then die and decay. And the failed plants improve the soil, and then the thorns fail. And then what do we have? Good soil. Jesus' story describes the 4 fields in the world, the 4 fields inside each of us. In what parts of your life is God's word bearing fruit? In what parts of your life is God still working in some mysterious way, cheering you on? In the verses directly following today's gospel lesson, Jesus tells this story. The kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while everyone was sleeping, his enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat and went away. When the wheat sprouted and formed heads, then the weeds also appeared. The owner's servants came to him and said, 'Sir, didn't you sow good seed in your field? Where then did the weeds come from?' 'An enemy did this,' he replied. The servants asked him, 'Do you want us to go and pull them up?' 'No,' he answered, 'because while you're pulling up the weeds, you may root up the wheat with them. Let them both grow together until the harvest. At that time I will tell the harvesters, first collect the weeds and tie them in bundles to be burned, then gather the wheat and bring it into my barn.'" It's hard to swallow and interesting to note that we are not the sower, the farmer, the owner, or the harvester. We're even told to keep our hands off the weeds, lest we disturb God's plan. In this story, Jesus first describes the kingdom. It is a description which sees the kingdom as universal and mysterious and calls only for us to be awake to it. I recently heard another little story that illustrates our relationship with God and our world and ourselves. As we come into adulthood, hopefully we have developed some sort of conscious contact with God. It's like baking a cake. We usually think that we are to bake the cake and God will apply the frosting. But as we grow in our faith, we learn that God just wants us to stay the heck out of the kitchen, and on good days, we get to serve the cake. That's all. Today's gospel calls you to observe, not judge, the fields of the world, the fields inside of you. God is the farmer, and God is the sower, and God is the harvester, and on good days, we get to see God's world bear fruit. One sows, and another reaps. See God in your world. Trust in God's ability in your world. Remember what it said in Matthew 7. Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. As Christians, we're called to serve, not judge. And God sends out his word to the whole world, and as God told us in our first lesson, so shall my word be that goes out from my mouth. It shall not return to me empty, but it shall accomplish that which I purpose and succeed in the thing for which I sent it. The seed carried by the bird, the plant that fails. Good soil is being made, bit by bit, and all serve God's plan. And that's the good news.